Dr. Madhusudhan, thank you so much for speaking to me on India Global. Let me start by asking you, the K2-18b that is located 120 light years from Earth, what is so special about it? If you were to speak to our viewers directly about these planets, what do you think it means to have hydrogen-rich atmospheres?
Yeah, so K2-18b, based on our observations, both previous and current observations, the best explanation to all the data we have so far is and this is, again, we have to look more deeper into it, but currently the best explanation is that it would be a Haitian world, a planet with an ocean-covered surface and a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. The important bit is that we think it is possible for that ocean to be habitable. And especially because we are seeing these initial evidence for these gases right now, DMS and DMDS, dimethyl sulfide or dimethyl disulfide or both, these are gases that are produced uniquely by oceanic life, primarily by oceanic life here on Earth, but also organic matter and plants and so on land. So those are very strong biomarkers. So this is why we think that there is a chance that these could also be produced by life on this planet, but there is a big if. We still need to verify our observations and do more theoretical studies to make that association, but there is the promise. That's the most important news right now.
Okay, if I were to ask you to quantify this if in terms of years of research, what would that be?
Yeah. So there are two aspects here. First, we have to establish the observation we made right now is literally one observation. And even in one observation, we are seeing a tentative signal. So that's a very good sign. So we just have to make a few more observations, maybe 2 to 3 more observations that will take anywhere between 16 to 24 hours of JWST time to prove that that signal is robust, if it is robust. So that would take maybe a year or two to get all the observations done. Now, when we establish that the signal is real and that the gases are indeed what we are detecting, then there is also the aspect that we need to do theoretical and experimental studies to make absolutely sure that those gases cannot be produced by any other means on this planet at the levels we are seeing. So association of those gases with life is the other step that will also happen in parallel.
Okay. Sir, you've entered into the field of space. You were in IIT earlier. You started off in India. I want to understand from you the research ecosystem that exists in India from the kind of space research that we would like to or aspire to do.
Yeah, India, in my view, has a great research ecosystem, especially now. There is more awareness. More people are going into basic sciences. And that is what you need to make to do research like this and make great progress. So I think there is great promise for India if we can only channel the resources that we've got into the right problems, the right directions, research directions, and so on. So yeah, so I'm pretty like positive about India's outlook in making big leaps in scientific research going forward.
If there's life on K2-18b, what could it actually look like? And do you see humans actually going there, or do you think it's too far?
So we are never going to go there. So that's just too far for travel. But the kind of life there currently, based on what we know on Earth, these molecules are produced by microorganisms in the Earth's oceans, and they have been produced. Those are the first kinds of life that arose on planet Earth. So our baseline assumption is that it's that kind of life which we can safely assume would be present on these planets if we confirm if we actually confirm the detections and make that association. It's that kind of very simple microbial life we are talking about. How complex that life can get over time on this kind of planet, we don't know. So we can't make any statements on that right now.
How much of a scientific breakthrough is this for the scientific community if you talk about the possibility of life or even microorganisms that you mentioned?
Yeah, so we have to be very careful. We are not claiming that we have detected life at all, only the possibility of it. And that in itself is a huge breakthrough in the search for life, because until now, in the history of our species, we have been asking this question whether we are alone for thousands of years. And there have been credible searches over the past 100 years in various ways. But until now, there has never been a moment in history where we are actually looking at a planet and detecting some gases in its atmosphere and which could be potentially from life. Even that much has never happened. So to me, like, this is one of the phenomenal like transformations in our search for life, and this would be a turning point. Whether this particular observation is confirmed, whether there is life on this or not, we will see. But what this demonstrates is that we as a species, as a technologically advanced species, now have the capability to look for such molecules on planets like this. And there are many more planets that one can look for. And so the search has, in effect, started. And that is what the transformation is that we're talking about.
Dr. Madhusudhan, what would be your next research areas that you would like to focus on, besides, of course, K218b?
Yeah, so K218b is just the starting point for us. This was the testing ground for the past 5 years. For a lot of theory of habitability, we introduced this concept of Haitian worlds precisely because Earth-like planets are much more difficult to observe, and we don't have any facility right now to observe them. So we tried to expand that definition and found that theoretically there are these planets like these Haitian worlds that we came up with that can, in principle, allow for life. So we have been doing a lot of theoretical work, and then we followed with observations to get the results we have today. So going forward, K218b is just one example that is demonstrating a proof of concept that we can detect these molecules. If we have actually detected life, then this would be the transformational moment where that started. But even if we don't detect, even if we find that tomorrow, within the next 2 years, that okay, maybe this signal is not there, whatever, the proof of concept is that we can do this for many more planets. And there are several other planets that we are looking into and that we will look into in the future, and there will be more that will be discovered. So the opportunities are endless because we, with this, are robustly entering the area of quantitative astrobiology. That field has just started observationally. And whenever that happens, like it has happened for black holes, it has happened for stars. About only 100 years ago, we didn't know what stars were made of. And that humble beginning transformed into a whole new field called astrophysics that we know of, right? So this is what's going to happen for astrobiology, in my view, the pursuit of a living universe. When we detect a credible sign of life, we will have to see, but we have started that journey.
What advice would you give to young kids who are watching this video, in this interview right now, dreaming of becoming space scientists like yourself?
I would say just follow your passion. I mean, personally, I would say not to be too persuaded by common trends, because especially when it comes to basic sciences, it is not always fancy things that you follow. You follow the very basic problems, very fundamental questions humanity has always been asking, but the path to making those breakthroughs is through very simple physics, maths, chemistry that you'll have to know and follow. Just follow your heart. If you're really passionate, just follow your heart.